beautiful people, Thomas here. Welcome to my YouTube channel, my reality show, where I strive to share my crazy life with all of you in hopes of making some fun connections and build a community for everybody. Today, we're going to stray a little from our normal episodic format, and we're gonna have some fun in the kitchen. Now, I am by no means a professional chef or a baker by trade, but I like to cook and I can follow directions pretty well. I'm a stay-at-home dad who's always looking for a new hobby, so I've been dabbling in making sourdough bread. I don't know if you all have noticed, but making sourdough at home has been taking over TikTok and the internet. Everyone's doing it or trying to. It's fairly simple, but at the same time, it's quite complex. So we're gonna dive in and I'm gonna show you how to make sourdough at home and how it's worked for me. It takes quite a bit of time to make sourdough, usually 2 to 3 days from beginning to end. Yeah, it isn't a quick task. Fermentation and the creation of yeast, it all takes quite a bit of time. So that's where patience and TLC comes in to play. So we better get started if we're gonna get this done. This is Shirley, my sourdough starter. She is about 1 year old. There's a ton of videos on the internet on how to make your own sourdough starter at home. It's essentially a flour and water mixture that you continue to feed flour and water over the course of several days, and it starts to grow and ferment and produce yeast. So the fermented yeast is quite vinegary, and that's essentially what gives the sourdough bread its sour taste and smell. If you could smell this right now, it's got quite the odor. You can also buy sourdough starters from various places like on Etsy or from other YouTubers, but my advice would be to make your own sourdough starter at home so that you understand the process and you learn how to make bread from beginning to end. No shortcuts. Now, I fed Shirley last night, so by now she's doubled in size and she's bubbling her life away. These are some of the signs that you look for to know that your sourdough starter is ready to be used to bake bread. Next, we gather our ingredients. I recommend getting one of these kitchen scales because a lot of the recipes you're gonna run into are measured in grams versus cups and tablespoons and things like that we're generally used to. So get yourself one of these for $10. It'll come in handy if you are serious about your bread journey. All right, let's get started. You're gonna take 720 grams of warm filtered water and add 200 grams of our active sourdough starter. There's Shirley doing her job. Gently stir, and then we're gonna add 25 grams of fine sea salt. Stir that until it's combined. It's time to add our flour. Take 850 grams of unbleached white flour. Start to mix that. Then our final ingredient, 150 grams of whole wheat flour. All right, clean up your space, roll up your sleeves, lose the tools, because we're getting our hands dirty. This is probably my favorite part of making sourdough. Go ahead and mix this until it's a shaggy dough, and most of that loose flour is part of your mixture. Next, you're going to want to cover it with a damp towel and wait 30 to 45 minutes. After about 45 minutes, uncover your dough and wet your fingers to start your first set of stretch and folds. Grab your dough from the center and pull so it lifts and stretches itself to the point where you can fold it underneath. Rotate your bowl and repeat 4 or 5 times. Tuck it underneath of itself so it forms a nice ball, and then we're going to cover it for another 30 to 45 minutes. It's time for our second set of coil folds. Wet your fingers and lift. Again, tuck it underneath of itself. Look, our shaggy dough is now looking like an actual ball of dough. It's nice and jiggly. Cover it again, this time for 60 to 90 minutes. It's time for our third set of coil folds. Lift without breaking and tuck it underneath of itself. Rotate and repeat. So what's happening here is our dough is hard at work developing gluten, and in the process it's releasing gases which are forming these air bubbles. Feel free to pop any air bubbles that you see, because throughout the shaping process our goal is to eliminate any air pockets, any air bubbles, and to create surface tension so that our dough rises the way that we want it to, giving us that beautiful crumb. After your third set of coil folds, cover it with a damp cloth and set it aside on the countertop until it's doubled in size. I waited about 5 or 6 hours. Next, it's time to clean and clear your workspace. Once you've done that, sprinkle some flour on your counter and be generous. This is to help prevent your ball of dough from sticking to everything. Go ahead and empty the contents of your bowl, aka the ball of dough, onto your prepared workspace. We've officially entered the shaping stage of our sourdough bread journey. This is one of the final stages before baking, so hang in there, we're almost there. Next, we evenly divide our dough into 2 pieces as we are making 2 loaves of bread with this recipe. Go ahead and take your first piece of dough and spread it out on the counter. Wet your fingers and knock back any air bubbles, like so. Go ahead and spread it out as much as you can without tearing it, popping any air bubbles along the way. This next step, there's no real right or wrong way to do this, but essentially you're just going to want to fold it into itself like a burrito. We're trying to eliminate any air pockets, get rid of any air bubbles, and just to create surface tension. You can do that by grabbing your dough against the counter and pulling it towards you, like I'm doing here. Alright, set that ball aside to rest and repeat what you just did with the second piece of dough. Once you've finished initially shaping both pieces of dough, let them rest as is on the countertop for 30 to 60 minutes. To finish shaping our dough, uncover and dust the tops with flour. Next, we're gonna flip them over and spread them out as best we can, essentially like we just did. You're gonna fold it into itself like a burrito. You can then use the countertop and pull your piece of dough towards you to create surface tension. And go ahead and do the exact same thing for your second piece of dough. Next, you're going to want to take banneton bowls or bowls with a similar shape like this and flip your dough upside down so the pretty part is face down. We're then going to cover our dough and place it in the refrigerator for 12 to 24 hours. We're almost ready to bake. Hello again. It has been about 15 hours since we put the dough in the refrigerator to rest, and now it's time to bake. I've preheated the oven to 450 degrees. Now what we're going to need is parchment paper, a little bit of flour, and a Dutch oven. I'm going to go ahead and throw this into the oven now so that it preheats with the oven. Now we're going to want to grab our dough from the refrigerator and prep it for the oven and score it. Okay, so grab yourself a nice sized piece of parchment paper. I like to drizzle mine with olive oil and give my dough a little sprinkle of flour just to prevent it from sticking. There are way too many times I can recount ruining a loaf of bread because my parchment paper stuck to the bottom of my dough. It's a very, very sad day when that happens. Guys, why is making bread so hard? You're then going to want to take a scoring tool or a razor blade or a sharp knife and draw a cute design. I'm drawing a feather on one and a KH-24 on the other in honor of Kamala Harris for president. Woo woo! Make sure you guys get out and vote. You're then going to carefully place it into your preheated Dutch oven and bake covered for 7 minutes. After 7 minutes, you're going to want to do your expansion score, which allows your bread to expand more in the oven. Cover it and bake it for 25 more minutes. Then remove the lid and bake for an additional 10 minutes. And voila, we have bread. Ah, they're just gorgeous, simply stunning. And we made these with our own 2 hands. You're going to want to let them cool for 45 minutes to an hour before slicing into them. I hope you enjoy this recipe, use it, and let me know in the comments how it works out for you. You can find the full recipe in the description or on my website at iamthomascole.com. Bread?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, it's safe to say, I think we learned how to break bread today, my friends. Thanks for tuning in. This looks fantastic. I'm very proud of myself and my progress. Who knows what next week will have in store for us on this show, but to tell you the truth, I can't wait. Until then, my friends, mwah.